Hey folks, Devin here with basketmakeratlettle.com. In this video I'm reviewing some minimalist winter boots. These are the Kuuvas by Feelmax. So these are the Kuuvas by Feelmax, and they're a leather boot. They're advertised as a hiking boot. I think they function great as a winter boot. They're designed by the Finns. There's a little bit too much play in them for a traditional hiking boot. I wouldn't really wear them backpacking on a rocky trail. But for winter wear in the deep snow, I've been wearing them mainly in Colorado. They have been really great. So let's take a better look at them. I've had these for about 4 years now, and I wear them mainly in the snow, up in the mountains in Colorado, in town as well, and I've worn them on sort of off-trail kinds of conditions in the winter when it's cold, mainly hunting. And they've been a very warm boot. They're waterproof up to about the ankle, and in fact I just stepped off in a puddle this morning that I thought was a shallow creek, and went up, as you can see, to almost to my knee. And luckily I was wearing my gaiters, and so I only feel a little bit of moisture around the tops of my shins here, and no water in the boots. So they haven't leaked any in the time that I've had them. The tread on these is kind of a fine tread, and I haven't noticed it wearing very badly at all. I don't wear these much on concrete in town. When I wear them in town, it's because there's ice and snow on the ground. So the tread is actually held up really well. It doesn't have big deep lugs, but these actually have better grip in ice and snow than any of my other minimalist shoes. Now these are not a high-priced shoe, and that shows up in the quality. So there are some issues here that I want to discuss. First off, the leather is kind of soft and supple. You can see where it gets scratched pretty easily. It loses its dark black, in this case, color pretty easily, but you can renew that with a coating. I keep these waxed with beeswax, and so far the leather has actually held up pretty well. I haven't had any holes or tears in the leather so far. The sole has also come away from the upper in some places. You can see right here there's a little spot where it's trying to come away. That's happened to me 2 or 3 times with these shoes, and each time it happens I just glue it back with some super glue or shoe glue, and that solves the problem. These are not the original lacings. The original lacings also wore through really quickly. They actually were abraded by the eyelets here and broke. That happened pretty quick, and I got these like super durable lacings to replace them, and haven't had any issues since then. And since this tongue is some kind of it looks like a nylon synthetic material, it has abraded and worn some, so it just kind of frayed. But so far that hasn't really affected the functionality of the shoe. So like I said, there's a little bit of play in these. They don't tighten up really well down here, but for a winter boot you don't want a lot of room. You don't want a tight shoe like you want for a hiking boot. So so these have a little bit more play in them, but that also makes them pretty comfortable and warm. I've been hiking in some pretty deep snow here. It started off about 8 degrees up here this morning. Now it's probably about 20, and my feet have been pretty warm with some big thick socks in there. There does feel like there's some molding to the sole. I wouldn't call it support by any means. The sole it's pretty flexible. It's probably about 8 or 10 millimeters thick. I'll post the actual thickness of the sole. So it's not a super thin sole, but your foot can flex some. You can feel the ground. They move around. Your feet move around in there a little bit on really rough terrain, but off trail I haven't had really any issues with discomfort because of that. So like I said, I wouldn't wear them on a rough, rocky trail for many miles, but so far hiking off trail, hunting off trail, walking all day in snow and in the mountains in Colorado, these haven't given me any issues, and they've held up relatively well considering the problems I mentioned earlier. So for the price and considering the issues, I was able to resolve them pretty easily. For the price, these have been surprisingly good. I've enjoyed having these boots. They've lasted pretty well. They're a great winter boot, and so I would recommend them. Just be advised that you might need to make some repairs here and there. So those are the Kuuvas by Feelmax.